Hello.
We almost forgot you. We were too busy chatting.
We're talking about something very exciting.
Please
Not
ignore
that
my
you
leaves.
guys aren't very exciting, but
Check out my leaves.
Yeah, Kat is.
oh,
Do you know, you look like you're about to. You look like you're on the Starship Enterprise and you're about to
Beam me up, Scotty.
beam you up. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I'll keep it. That'll do.
that's it.
Hi, friends. It's like got a good old crowd in. Seeing lots of people saying hello.
Hello.
Lucas has got one already. He's loving life. Lucas is waiting for your click on the disclaimer.
Lucas is in. Right, okay. In which case, I'll do the disclaimer before we... Hello,
Tell
friends.
his parents what to expect.
Yeah. Well, one of his parents, it's her fault. It's mostly her fault.
It's all her fault.
Hello, friends. Welcome to History After Dark. This is... We called it that because it was winter when we made it. It's now not. So it is daylight. It's not actually dark here. However, it's still
freezing.
It's warm here. I'm in a little shorty sleeve.
Oh, yeah, you've said
yes, so we call it this because on our other social media platforms, we are veritable paragons of grace and decorum. Here, however, we like to let our freak flags fly. We like to indulge in some four-letter expletives, some smut, filth, innuendo, innuendo. With that being said, this is not suitable for all listeners. If you are in an open plan office with a judgmental boss, please put a headphone in. We don't want you getting fired. You've got merch to buy from us, so keep your salary. If you're in a car, a living room, a chandelier house with a judgmental child, call this child Timmy. I don't know why a chandelier house. That's a thing. Let's start that. Timmy is a problem, as our merch says. Tim is the sort of child that hears one depraved thing one time. Oh yeah, we'll get on to the.
Philip has done some flashing for you there.
Timmy hears one depraved thing one time, locks it away in his wine palace, takes it to school with him, repeats it in front of his teacher, who in my head is Miss Honey. She does not listen to History After Dark because she is, in fact, pure as the driven. So she doesn't know the first cardinal rule of History After Dark, which is if you don't know what it means, it's not for you. Don't Google it. That's fine. So she Googles it. She's now traumatized. She's rocking in a corner in the fetal position, weeping. You get called at school. You've got to explain why Timmy knows these things. You also got to pay 12 weeks of therapy to try and get her to use words again. No one needs that. Put a headphone in. Alternatively, you can watch us on the playback here on the YouTubes. With that being said, it's always wise to watch us live in case we, like we did on one occasion, say something that is so unspeakably depraved that we have to yeet the footage directly into the sun for we are all too pretty for prison. We've done it once before. It hasn't happened for a while, which means one of three things. One is that we are due for it to happen again, highly likely. Two is that we have got better, unlikely. Three, I think possibly the most likely, is we've been doing this so long and we have so corrupted one another that the bar is now in hell and we don't know what we shouldn't say anymore. So this could be a wild ride. We've talked about rules. We hope you're all adults here. Lucas, go to bed, or certainly don't repeat anything here now at school. With that, don't go to bed. So if you're all adults, we can't tell you not to use this as a drinking game. However, we will never approve that message. This will never be medical nor legal advice. Do not sue us. And last but by no means least, with this handcrafted, slightly chaotic disclaimer today, you know what to expect. We will be doing the swears, right? If at any point we see either in the comment sections of one of our videos here or on our personal social media platform, somebody saying something along the lines of, I enjoy History After Dark, but do you have to swear so much? It's not very ladylike. First of all, fuck off. Second of all, we know what you're doing. You want us to pin that comment so that everybody else in the comments can come and shame you publicly. Look, I get it. The town square doesn't have stocks anymore. It's very frowned upon to flash your little ding-dong around. However, if you want to be shamed by a person, I know some beautiful basements in Brighton. They are filled with some wonderful, very unfriendly women. They will happily put clamps on your nipples and kick you right up your bumhole for the right price. They will degrade you verbally and physically, but they've consented because, friends, kink without consent is not okay. Don't do it. This is History After Dark, and we are talking about Ada Lovelace.
Yay.
I will just say before we carry on, a couple of weeks ago we put out the old episode. We did the original Roger the Beaver episode, like a throwback episode, because I found a few old episodes when I was clearing stuff off my MacBook. So just as an FYI, guess which one I found?
The yeeted one.
Mm.
I think I've got a copy of the yeeted one for some reason. As well, maybe
I
I
never release it.
I'd like to point
No.
out at this point that everyone has a price and I'm skint. So
Look, just put your feet on the internet like a regular pervert. Stop it. Pretty
it's
Pick
not
wants
me
to know
that
what
would be the pervert, it would be the other people.
pervert is as pervert does. Birds of feather flock to a pervy nest together. Pretty Pick
Welcome to
is
the Brighton
asking
Story
what
Sport.
Pretty Pick is asking what the basement ladies' names are.
Oh,
On
yes.
this occasion, I've named plural. We're going to go with Clementine, Tiffany, and Mabel.
Oh, yeah.
And they will.
Is Mabel the older one that's fallen on
No,
hard times?
no.
No,
Mabel's
going
one of
back
those
round again,
people.
isn't it?
She's young,
This.
but she is very spicy. She's
Did
got,
you
she's
know
got
that?
a cough like Pat Butcher, but a face of an angel. She will end you, Mabel will.
I've heard that Emma, the name Emma, has dropped out of the top 100 names in this country. And Sarah
Last year,
and Rachel, was it?
Sarah. Maybe it's because people don't like to call their children. Last year, absolutely no one in the UK called their kid Gary.
Well, that's
dying out.
Positive progress.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get it. But
is Gary a name on its own? Aren't Gary's all Gareth?
Gary can be just a name on its own. Yeah.
No, but I went to school with loads of Emmas. I like the name Emma.
Yeah, well, the year I was born, Emma was the most popular name, so it was around a similar sort of.
Do you reckon it's
I don't know one's going to.
Friends? The little baby was called Emma in Friends.
Yes, it was. But then that baby is now 25 years old or something stupid.
But Friends has started rerunning. So I'm wondering.
Baby's still 25. Oh.
If people are doing their. What?
You mean it might come back in?
No, Friends is like they've been streaming it on Netflix. So it's back on Netflix, the whole series. So I'm wondering.
The name Emma has gone out of the top 100.
Well, I mean, are people naming their kids? Are people avoiding naming their kids after things they see on film and TV? Like, how many Elsas are there? Did they all learn from Daenerys? There are a bunch of people who call their kids Daenerys, and they regret it.
No, I know
at least
somebody
Emma's
whose step-granddaughter is Renesmee.
Does anyone place that name came from?
I'm not going to say anything. But I like... no, but at least Emma's an ancient name.
Yes.
I like the name Emma.
You know.
Yeah.
Emma was on my list.
Pardon?
Well, I'm not...
Emma was on my list for girls.
Alas, it will never be a name I use because I am having a masculine child again. So
sexist.
I would happily. There are happily names that I think are more ambiguous, but I think that calling a boy Emma is very much boy named Sue territory. I'm going to be honest with you. Not
quite a lot at school. Does that mean you're not going to call him Catherine?
I'm probably not.
Could call him Philip.
Could do.
I know. No one's ever going to call their baby Philip or Philippa ever again.
Can you imagine a baby called Philip?
No, he's
Philippa. So I'm now being told, like, the kids are like, Mom, you've got a really old name. I was like, well, it wasn't old when I wasn't old. So
no, Philippa's quite classy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Also, when you're little, were you ever a Pippa? No. Aggressively no. Aggressively not a Pippa. What was your nickname when you were a kid then?
So I don't remember having a nickname with my friends, but if it's ever been shortened, people just call me Phil, which doesn't seem weird to me, but it probably does seem weird to lots of other people. My dad called me PJ because that's my initials. Yeah. And then at university, I was EBFH, which stood for Evil Bitch from Hell, and was on the back of my water polo jersey. So there you are.
Nice.
I'm not posh. I used to play water polo. I've told you about this before. You see, the thing I like about water polo is all the horses drown.
Actually, there was quite a bit of drowning going on. You're not supposed to, it's supposed to be non-contact. Okay.
Well, I've
Oh,
seen some things on TikToks when people like the kind of the Olympic polo players, particularly the women, like they come out with scratches.
You have to
all
wear
over.
you have to wear the full like high neck tight. Obviously all swimsuits are tight, but like because like people rip them off, and the men used to wear like speedos and then rubber over ones over the top, because otherwise they just yank each other's yeah
speedos, rubber, yanking things off of each other. What did they used to do for the water?
Yeah,
etc. Well, see, I grew up in Chatham where there was violent sports, but they were very different to those. Mostly just fighting and running
I didn't get
away
into it until university.
I was forced to do team sports at school. Bloody hate team. Oh, look, I'm an only child and I bloody hate. I thought I hated sport. I don't. I hate team sports. I like gymnastics, trampolining, boxing. If I'm on my own, that's fine. I don't like being part of a team. And when they try to make me play lacrosse, that's outside in the rain. I quite like rounders. There was a lot of sitting around for that. But don't make me go outside when it's muddy. Bugger off. Leave me alone. And lacrosse is fucking vicious. I am 5 foot tall. And lacrosse were like Amazons, flaxen-haired Amazons. They look like they would come in and wreck your village. And there they are, lobbing this incredibly hard ball at my little face. I mean, I say little, it's a massive head. But nevertheless, it's just a bigger target for their hard ball.
Yeah.
Don't like it.
Yeah, we don't like team sports.
No, I was actually a swimmer, and that's how I got into water polo, because it was the swimming and water polo club.
Gateway drugs. Sideways.
Gateway drugs.
I did figure skating. I'd like to do that again, but I wasn't very good, but I really liked it. I'd probably just fall over.
Hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Who's started us off? Who's telling us about Ada Lovelace's relationships and personal life?
Well, now this I knew nothing about this woman. Apart from I'd heard the name, and her dad. And I said to Philip, I've got to be a little bit careful with this, because you could easily go off on a rant about her dad. He should have been in Deceased Gits. He would have been excellent Deceased Gits, wouldn't he? That's one word for it. True, but that's a politer word for it, I think. But yes. So anyway, Ada Lovelace. So Ada Lovelace, and I know obviously you're going to find this out, a mathematician and writer known chiefly for her contributions to the early development of computer science. She was born on the 10th of December 1815 in London, and she was the only child of Lord and Lady Byron. It was a very short marriage. She was only about a year, and they married in January 1815, and her mother left in January 1816. I don't blame her. She took Annabella. Annabella, her mother, took her infant daughter from their home on Piccadilly Terrace, and she never went back. So her parents, so her father, yes, was Lord Byron, the poet Byron. His name was George Gordon Byron. I didn't know that. In my head, he was Lord Byron, like he was born with that name, George Gordon. There's another one. You don't have a baby called Gordon either, do you?
No.
Or Bernard.
Bernard. Mine was always called Bernard, but that's not his real name. But yeah, I wouldn't have actually called him Bernard. My dad's name's Clive. Baby.
That's a dog name now, isn't it?
I think it is.
You see dogs.
Yes. Not entirely. Anyway, yes. So he was born on the 22nd of January, 1788 in London, and he died actually in Greece when he was only 36. Now, he was the one that called Ada Ada. So it was actually her middle name, but he liked her. So she was actually, no, her name was actually Augusta Ada, and the Augusta came from her father's half sister. We'll pop back to her in a bit. So he was an English poet and peer, and one of the major figures in the Romantic movement. So, and I'm just going into little bits of what that is, because it will kind of help to explain the differences between her parents. So the Romantic movement was an artistic, literary, musical and intellectual movement that originated in Europe towards the end of the 18th century. And so it was sort of quite big for the first half of the 19th century. And it reacted against the prevailing Enlightenment idea of the 18th century. So the Enlightenment, conversely, was cultural and intellectual movement which emphasized reason as the primary source of authority and legitimacy, and held ideas such as constitutional government, the separation of church and state, and it used empirical knowledge. We talked about empirical knowledge the other bit when we talked about Isaac Newton. So observation, so learning, clarification, certainty through observation, empiricism, and scientific method. So this, in fact, would have appealed to her mother, Lady Byron, because she was a mathematician. All right. So, but her husband was against it. So you see this little bit of a conflict coming here, and you see her take that forward because she did not want her daughter to follow in her father's footsteps, and we'll come back to that a little bit more as well. So, but you will see why it got a little bit mixed up. So her mother was commonly called Annabella, but she was Annabella Byron nee Milbank, and she was born on the 17th of May 1792. And she actually lived to the ripe old age of 67. So she outlived her wayward husband. And although they separated, they never actually got divorced. She was an educational reformer and a philanthropist. She was a very intelligent lady. She established the first industrial school in England, which is pretty cool, which is Ealing Grove School in 1833. And she was an activist. Anyone?
Activist.
Active, just active.
She was just active. That was all you were going for.
Abolitionist, managed to get that out first time. That's what she said. Being one of the few women who attended the World Anti-Slavery Conference of 1840. So this is a high-flying woman, very successful in her fields. And it's like, women didn't do those things in them days, apart from the ones that did. See previous Rant Week. Yes. So Ada grew up predominantly with her mathematically minded mother, who, and like many girls of this period, it was she was expected to kind of do the house thing, you know, and learn to be a good wife and keep a good house and all that shebang. And but her mother, being the woman she was, with her credentials, experiences, intelligence and networking, was like, no, I'm not having any of that. You are going to have a really, really wonderful education. And she nurtured this clever little girl really, really well. And her education, of course, mostly reflected her mother's interests. She wanted her to go down that route. And part of that was because she didn't want her going down the sort of poetry and the same sort of routes as her father, because I think she partially took this romanticism that her husband had, that Lord Byron had as part of the reason that he became quite wayward. And as I mentioned, sort of the romanticism stood sort of in contrast to what was the other thing? The Enlightenment. So they had, I think it was in there. So they had these two very different viewpoints. He was very much for one, she'd very much been for the other. So she had amazing tutors, really, really good tutors, and some of those like really came on. I think Kat might mention some of them, because they really influenced her mind, her thinking, and her work throughout her life. And one of them was the famous, oh god, I can't say this, logician. Yeah, it's the word logic with IAN on the end. Augustus de Morgan, and he had a really big influence over on her with her work, which might be called her main work, which is Notes, which I expect is going to get talked about. She was considered a bright and curious child and loved anything mechanical. She described her approach as poetical science. which is interesting. So poetical science is talking about the importance of intuition and image in maths and science. Okay, so I was trying to find simple ways to explain some of these concepts. And the key aspects of this are empiricism, so observation, interpretation, and interrogation. And she said that she used this approach because she felt that it had been argued that poetry is a form of experiment in the same way that science is. So poetical science. Okay, so you've got a bit of poetry, bit of maths, bit of mum, bit of dad mixed in there with her approach. But she described herself as an analyst and metaphysician. And metaphysics, if you're not sure, is a branch of philosophy that deals with the principles of things. I know a lot of people probably know that, but also might not. And it's a big word, isn't it? It's big words in the way she describes herself. So that's a little bit about her parents, and you will see this huge influence from her mother, obviously, in her education. But I say, when she was about a year old, her mother took up and left. So on the one hand, we go, well, yeah, so this is obviously why she's had this big influence from her mother. And she didn't see or know who her father was for many, many years. And obviously her mother sort of pushed her away educationally from that sort of schools of thought and things like that. But you will see as time goes on that she never saw her father again. Her mother took her away, and it wasn't through lack of loving her father. I think she loved her father very deeply, but and did for the rest of her life. But he was just a truly shockingly awful husband. I mean, he really, really was. It's fine saying, well, you know, he was a poet and creative, but you know, there's only so much you can sort of flounce about in a sort of flamboyant shirt and think that makes things okay, because it really doesn't. So yes, she had a lot of debt. There were obviously he was a bit of a bounder and a cad. He was a little bit of a ladies' man.
A little bit.
He I think could be quite cruel. And there were rumours of sodomy, incest, and possibly even that he had murdered a servant in his youth. Some of these things are sort of we're not entirely sure how true they are and to what extent, but is there no smoke without fire, or do these people just like a good gossip? It's hard to say. Anyway, so he was unfaithful to his wife, most famously, allegedly, with
So I don't think he can sue you now.
just my luck, though. Yeah, well, he's going to come back in the time machine and do me for it. Most famously with his half sister, Augusta Maria Lee, who was his paternal sister, half sister. She was older than him, and they were not raised together. I don't know if that's meant to make it better.
Doesn't make it okay.
I mean, I'm just like, some people fervently believed that her third daughter was his child, and that was used as evidence because he went to see her and stuff. That was used as evidence to prove it. A little bit shoddy as evidence, to be quite honest. But she, in fact, whether she had a fling with Byron or not, that was a little bit too close for home, but not close, because she then married her cousin and had 7 kids with him. So, you know.
Which, let's remember, cousin marriage fully legal in this country. Still,
yeah.
You can marry your first cousin. It's not recommended.
I was going to say, I wouldn't. Even if your first cousins are lovely, lovely people.
But they should keep them as your cousins. Don't bring them into your bedroom.
No.
Because it can have effects.
It can.
It's just that's a bit gross anyway. Just like they're brothers at that level.
When your uncle's your father-in-law.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So anyway, so it was very rare for a woman to instigate a separation, but she did, and her lawyer was a chap called Stephen Lushington.
That is straight out of Body Frepper. That is a Barbara Cartland name. The lovely lawyer Stephen Lushington, who comes in like thigh-high leather boots.
And possibly one of those flouncy shirts that I mentioned earlier. Anyway, but yes, Mr. Lushington Could use and he used the cruelty that he had inflicted upon Ada as a reason to justify her separation, and it was kind of held up, but they never actually got divorced. Partially because I think, well, one, she actually still really quite loved him. Two, it wasn't really the dumb thing. Three, he buggered off overseas, and
So
four,
he wasn't around, was he?
then he was dead. So
And then he was
that
dead.
kind of ended the need for that. To be perfectly fair,
Opium is another drug.
he couldn't have paid for it because he had no money. He was up to his ears in debt, wasn't he? So yeah, so that the humiliation of all of these things, because he was gossiped about a lot, obviously in the social circles, clearly. So he fled to the
that happens.
And that was only one of his many woes. So he fled to the continent in April 1816, probably almost certainly because of all this scandal, and he never came back to England to see his little daughter. So she had a half sister from her father's relationship with another lady. She may not have been a lady, it's hard to say, called Claire Clairmont, not original, who was the stepsister of Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein. Because her father, Lord Byron, was very good friends with Mary's husband, the poet Percy Shelley.
Yeah.
And they hung out quite a lot. After he legged it, he went over and he saw Percy Shelley, and they were like, yeah, let's just chill out here.
He was there for the writing of Frankenstein.
Yeah, didn't they have some kind of party? And
they were all in Geneva. And one of the reasons, like, everything was like Europe, there'd been a volcanic eruption, and so Europe was under this. The weather was just, there was like catastrophic crop failure. The sky was a really odd color. It was really like smoky because of this volcanic eruption, and they're all on Lake Geneva in this house, and it's Shelley, Mary, Percy, and
Claire Clairmont.
And Claire Clairmont, they're all knocking about, and they have this like write a scary story competition.
Yeah.
And Frankenstein comes out of that.
This is very cool, actually.
See, this is where I had to be a bit careful, because there were so many wonderful tangents like that, and I started going off down them, and I was like, no, it's not about him. It's more interesting. It's not about him, but yeah, it's very cool. So yeah, that is a safe story to Google, and I would Google that one because it's a good one. It's a good one.
I've got a video on the creation of Frankenstein that you can check out on my channel, so check it out.
Very good, very good. Okay, so the child he had with Claire Clairmont was a daughter called Allegra Byron, which is a really lovely name. Now, she was, I don't know why he picked this, probably because he thought it'd be easier. She was sent to a convent in Italy for her education, but she died aged just 5, which is pretty sad. Now, despite her mother not wanting to have her father to have an influence on her, I'm like, yeah, there's a bit of an overlap here. So I initially thought, well, she can't not have known who her father was, because it was Lord Byron, for Christ's sake. Everyone knew who he was. He was always in trouble. He was larger than life, you know. So my initial thought was, oh, she must have known who he was. But apparently she didn't, not straight away. In fact, for many years. Now, when she was 7, his body was brought back on a ship called the Florida, and she was taken to see that, which is just weird. But anyway, and she called it Papa's ship, and she thought that perhaps he was some sort of naval officer or something, which was kind of a cute thing for a small child to come out with. And her grandmother, Judith Noel, when she died in 1822, Ada brought down from the attic this portrait of her father that her grandmother had, and she really wanted it, but because of all the controversy surrounding him and everything, she hung it up downstairs, but she covered it in a green velvet curtain so that no one would know it was there. I wonder, like, was she sort of peeking behind it? Did she have little conversations with it or something? But it was there, but she kept it very, very enclosed. So because she knew, obviously, that people would like talk about it and how terrible it was and what an awful man he was, and he shouldn't be, you know, his portrait shouldn't be seen. Now, when she was 14, she caught measles, which is obviously can be very serious even now, let alone then. And she recovered from the measles, but straight afterwards, for a period of just over 2 years, and Well, nobody knows why, but it could be connected to the measles, but also could not. She had a period of a couple of years where she became bedbound. And nobody really knows why. She was very sad, very melancholy, because obviously she'd been very bright, active young woman. And then she's just bedbound. It's sort of, in her mid-teen years. And but it was around this time that, and again, we don't know why, or at least if we do, I haven't come across it. Her mother decided that this would be the time that she would introduce her to her father's poetry. It's just occurred to me that when you're feeling miserable, melancholy, poetry isn't perhaps the best answer. It's on reflection. But anyway, either that made it worse, but she did get better, so we could have gone one way or the other, I suppose. But say after a couple of years, she was a lot better. But obviously when she was introduced to her father's poetry and she began to learn a little bit more about him, she became really quite fascinated about him and wanted to learn more. And it included a very famous poem called Fare Thee Well, which he penned as he legged it around that sort of time. And she was also taught, found out, discovered, tutored into the fact that her reason her parents' marriage had gone wrong was just because of her Aunt Augusta, her father's half. That she was told really that pretty much most of the blame was to be pinned on this woman. Right, now, do you want some scandal?
Always.
Some more scandal. Yeah. Dad wasn't present for this one. And so in 1833, there was a scandal involving her shorthand tutor, William Turner, who was suddenly dismissed. It looks a bit dodgy, doesn't it, when they just go? Many years later, she stated that their intimacy fell just short of full penetration. Full, but does that mean just the tip? Or
that means she's the everything but girl.
Right.
I used to be everything but girl till I wasn't.
Is it the apple fell not very far from you, but not very close, but just a short distance? I don't know. Yeah. But apparently the New York Times had a field day with this. Her mum was like, yeah, I think we need to get you married, love.
How old at this point?
Sorry?
How old? So this is what she's 18. Saying later.
Yeah. Yes, she's about 18 when they go, yeah, it's husband time. We need to find you, which was inevitably going to have to happen. Or was it find her a nice husband?
Also, with a dad like that, maybe she had some fizzy knickers. She might well have been. And it's fine to have fizzy knickers at 18, but at this time period, being Miss Fizzy Knickers at 18 and being the daughter of Lord Byron, they're going to have to get you wifed, because otherwise,
an extremely well-renowned and respected female mathematician and abolitionist. Her mother was quite well known as well. So she's like, we need to legitimate. We need to.
Yes, get squeaky bum time if you don't.
Yes. So the chap's name was Lord William King. And it's interesting because both her mother and one of her tutors, Mary Somerville, who'd had a lot to do with her, raved over this guy, thought he was terrific, which sounds fair enough. Now, to me, this is Freudian by proxy, okay, because they loved this dude, right? They thought he was the dog's bollocks. He was obsessed with Lord Byron, obsessed with him, all right? So he must have thought all his Christmases had come at once at this point, because he was going to get some of the money and the property and the daughter and all of this stuff. And he had estates in Surrey that he'd inherited, and he named all of the fields in these estates that he'd inherited from his father after Byron's poems. And they got married in 1835, and Annabella, now his mother-in-law, because she liked him, secured him the title of Earl of Lovelace. So he's like, yeah, good times all round for me. Yeah, a bit weird. So anyway, Lady Byron continued to be a very strong influence on her daughter. She was invited to name their son and their daughter, and she went with Byron and Annabella. There's a surprise. Anyway, the children were really watched like hawks. I'm not entirely sure why. I don't know if she thought that they were going to go the same way or something, even when they were small children. I don't know. Or they might like poetry. Who knows what wild things young people do. But anyway, once she had her marital home, she put up that portrait of her father, because I'm sure her husband had some private time with that when everyone was out. a portrait of her mother, which was painted actually, in fact, around the time that her mother had met her father. You can see there's a pattern developing here, can't you? And a portrait of herself, not one of her husband, as far as I'm aware. So, but he was okay. He was just living it up. He was having good times all round, wasn't he? So, and the house was Ashley Combe in Somerset. I wondered if you might know that, Philip, because you like.
I actually do, and I've actually tried to find it. There's a whole story with that.
Oh.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It is where I go. I summer, and but yeah, it's you can't get anywhere near it. Like you can't get anywhere near it. It's very cloak and dagger. I don't know, like it's private property, but it was a few things over time. So like I think before the wars kicked off, it was either a hotel or some sort of retreat.
Yes.
And then for some reason not now. But if you can do a walk around the woods and you can still go. Part of the walks is through like the service tunnels.
Was it SOE during the war?
SOE.
Stately Homes Executive.
No,
it wasn't. It wasn't.
So. I think it just didn't. No, I think because it was a hotel, basically, war obviously put pay to that. So
Right.
no, I think it then
But
it
it's
just
moving the spies or anything.
Oh, I need to learn to teleport now.
It is very close to where there was a training base. Very close around the bay from a training base, but no. But yeah, I've been desperate to try and get into it or get near it.
Yeah, Steve, I know it's Special Operations Executive, but as a joke, because they're all stately homes, we jokingly call it the Stately Homes Executive as SOE.
Yeah. No, I don't think it was that big. I don't think it was big enough. But she apparently had a like bath suite, but like in one of the not attached to the house, so in the garden somewhere. Basically, it overlooks the sea. There's a bay, and apparently she had some kind of bathing house in the rocks.
I think I would do that.
So one of my things that I want to do is take a boat trip and have a look around the coast and see if I can spy where it is. But it's all grown up and everything over there, so it's really, really hard to even see where it could have been.
Oh, that's really wetted my whistle.
I'm
desperate.
If there weren't
drones, yeah, exactly.
A drone.
If there weren't traps in the woods, I'd have had a little explore by now.
Bloody
I don't want to lose my leg.
Release the bears.
Animal traps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Send the bears out first. Anyway, so yes. So the place was out, and it was a homage to Byron. First because William, and then because of her and her mother. So now I know this bit is about her death, which I know, but I'll just mention it quickly. In 1850, her and William visited Newstead Abbey, which was her father's resting place, and her mother had been there previously, and I'd sort of gone, I wonder if I could buy that, because she was just, I want to buy the place where my dead husband is. But anyway, Ada went down with her husband, and she was like, no, I really like it. And she secured a promise from the owner, Thomas Wildman, I'm fairly confident he wasn't, that she could be laid to rest in the vault next to her father. And she died a couple of years later of uterine cancer, aged 36, which was the same age as her father when he passed away. Wow. And this is a bit weird. So her mother, fine, had a private shrine made for her, which is in the churchyard of her family home at Kirkby Mallory, which is in Northamptonshire. But we wonder if she ever actually went to this shrine, because the year of Ada's birth on it is incorrect. So you'd think you'd nip down and go, I need to work with your stonemason, love, because this is all wrong. So there we go. To me, it's she didn't know her father. I appreciate that this instills questions into people, but to me, it's just a little bit too Freudian for my liking.
Yeah.
And then he, of course, was just, well, we've very clever, very poetic, very famous, bit of a wrong un. And her mum, dead clever, heavy influence on her. But thank goodness that she did have those influences on Ava. Ava? No, that's somebody else. You're lovely, Ava. She did have these influences on Ada because, as you will find out momentarily, she did some really cool stuff.
She
Yeah.
did.
So had she gone the way young women of her age were meant to, we may never have all this stuff.
No, but didn't want to interrupt you while you were
In
in flow. But Shano, thank you very much.
Yay.
99.
So much appreciated. Oh, a power trio.
Boom.
I've been called worse.
We're powering it up this weekend. So next week we
Yeah.
might have some. We might have some
Shenanigans
interesting things to
afoot.
tell you, or we might have just like gossiped and chatted for the entire weekend and got
We
absolutely
might do what
nothing
we always do, which is go with these massive plans and get it all set out. And so we're going to do videos and loads of photos, and then come home and go, we didn't take a picture.
Yeah, because no, I've got all our notes from all our meetings. I know what we intended to do.
Yes.
But the thing is, that's the problem when you work with your friends, but you don't see them very often. Is that a work meeting becomes a friend hangout?
Well,
and a weekend isn't really all that long, so we just like
we live a
catch up
long
on
way
life.
away as well from
Yeah.
each other.
It's probably be the last time we see each other before Catme comes.
Yes,
Yeah.
will be, must be. You haven't got long to go.
Well, unless you come to Harvington when I'm talking.
I will be there.
I'll tell you what, I'm worried about the heat. I'm not gonna lie. I'm going to be 8 months pregnant.
It's not hot up here at the moment. I don't
Well,
know
it's
what's
going to be
going on
July,
in London.
babe. July, and I'm going to be 8 months
We're
pregnant.
in England. Anything could be happening.
It could. I'm going to pray for rain. I'll be honest with you, because if I'm a sweaty bastard, I don't like it. Anyway.
Invested in a fan. I'll bring you a fan with you.
I'll get one of those neck fans so I can talk and whir while we're going. It's time for Word of the Week. Word of the Week. Boom, boom, boom. Word of the Week. Word of the Week. Which means only one thing, because it is my week. What does that mean, friends? Time for Can't. You absolute can't. I would like you, please. All right, Catherine. Are you well?
Not really.
I would like you to define the following, please. Queer as Dick's hat band.
So, are we going queer as in strange or unusual?
Strange, yeah.
Your choice. Dealer's choice. Queer as Dick's hat band.
Dick,
I mean, it's too obvious to say it's got to be something to do with a hat, I'm guessing. Would that be too obvious?
It's in a list of... So basically, all of these are grouped by kind of theme. Also in this list are the following. Rapper-eyed and hipped and lol tongue. But we're going for Queer as Dick's hat band.
Are these things for carrying weapons, sheathing weapons?
I like it though.
Accessories, clothing accessories.
Is it more behaviour?
No.
It's a thing.
Something you wear?
No.
No. A type of song? Does it involve feathers? I feel like it involves feathers.
Only if something's gone very wrong.
Is it types of crime or types of misdemeanor?
No. Cindy Knight is close, particularly if you are Australian. Crooked.
Something related to a body. Is it a body part then?
No. Also on this list is churchyard cough.
So some
is it just ways of saying someone's dead?
Some sort of deformance due to illness.
We'll go with that. It means Queer as Dick's hat band means feeling unwell, but without any specific knowledge of disease. Queer as Dick's hat band.
Oh, I'm
Thank
often
you. You can't.
Band. So hang on, what's that got to do with Australians?
Crook. When you're sick in Australia, you're crook.
Crook. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't watched Neighbours for many years, so out the loop.
Right. So, friends, I've got professional work life. Ada Lovelace, very important in computers, has some very important friends. I have got some computery definitions, some of which I am going to read to you verbatim because I have tried. I don't understand how coding works.
No.
I don't understand how someone writes something on paper and it's computer code. I don't understand that. I've really tried. I'm going to do my best. But like when there's that photograph of that lovely tiny lady with the glasses, and she's got books and books that are as tall as her, and it's supposed to be the code written for the first manned space flight. And I'm like, that's on paper. How is it made a spaceship happen? It's in a book. I don't understand. It doesn't. My brain can't comprehend how those two things have come together. So that's where I am, and I'm feeling a bit anxious about this. But I'm going to do my best. Okay. So, right, here we go. As Catherine said, Ada has got this very clear, or her mother rather, has got this very clear drive for her education and for her career, if you will. But there is an element to which they're sort of always fighting against her imagination. And that is something that I think comes up when she's pursuing these endeavors. She's as you rightly said, one of her tutors is Augustus de Morgan. She has this fascination for mechanics, but they're mechanics with incredible creativity. In some ways, she sort of reminds me of the great Renaissance inventors and artists. She is, as a child, thinking of ways to create a flying machine. She thinks maybe she can do it by powering it with steam, which I just think is fabulous. She is in 1833, she's 17, and she meets a man called Charles Babbage, who I am reliably informed by the ODNB is a mathematician and inventor. It's thought that the two were introduced by the philosopher Mary Somerville. She knew him and she knew her, so it's possible that she's the one that brings them together. Charles Babbage clearly recognizes something in Ada of a kind of kindred spirit. So he shows Ada something called his first calculating engine. So this is coming from the Computer History Museum. Charles Babbage designs two classes of engine. He designs something called difference engines and analytical engines. So the calculating engine is, I believe, connected to the difference engine. So difference engines are strictly calculators. This is directly from the Computer History Museum. They crunch numbers the only way they know how, by repeated addition according to the method of finite differences. They, however, cannot be used for general arithmetical calculation. So it's not a calculator in the way that I know a calculator, because that's how you do maths. The other thing we're going to talk about, not the difference engine, his other thing is the analytical engine. This is much more than a calculator. And apparently, it marks the progression from the mechanized arithmetic of calculation to fully fledged general purpose computations. There were apparently at least 3 designs at different stages. So there's an evolution in his ideas. So that's why they talk about analytical engines in plural. He shows Ada these. She understands whatever the going on. She looks at it and goes, "Yeah, know what that is." She also attends lectures about the engine. She examines the plans for it. So he gives her like a full behind the scenes tour. She is studying and ends up teaching mathematics. She's very much within Babbage's circle. and in their friendship circle, there's her old tutor, Augustus de Morgan. There's, of course, Mary Somerville. She also, in this circle, is Charles Dickens, boo hiss, and the inventor, Sir Charles Wheatstone. Ada is, though, perhaps most famous for her notes, and she makes a whole bunch of notes and comments on Babbage's analytical engine, particularly his plans for an analytical engine. It's said that her particular skill in this is that she can find a way to convey these concepts that are brand new, and they were then brand new, and they remain, clearly, as I'm showing, difficult. She has a way, apparently, of writing about them that people smarter than me can understand. And historians of these particular sciences find her work incredibly useful. I'll be honest, it might as well have been in Greek. I'm sure there are some people for whom it really elucidates what's going on. And clearly, this is the way it's seen by a lot of people. I couldn't tell you, babe. Couldn't tell you what's going on. That is my failing, not hers. Okay. So Babbage is sharing, when he comes up with things, he's sharing this stuff with her first of all. So she is the person that he goes to, I think maybe the person that he goes to in November 1834 with his idea for this calculating engine. Just nearly a decade later, she is also translating papers. One of the papers she translates is by somebody who ends up being the Prime Minister of Italy. He is called General L.F. Menabrea, and she translates his paper in which he describes Babbage's attempts to implement his ideas, this analytical engine that he is trying to design. She adds a bunch of notes to this paper that she translates. So it's not, she is artistically minded, creatively minded, scientifically minded, and she's also linguistically capable. You know, just puts many of us, certainly me, to absolute shame. These notes that she adds to Menabrea's paper are what contains what is regarded as one of the earliest computer programs. This is where I've really come unstuck, because I don't know how that's happened. I don't know what that means. But if either of you or anybody in the chat knows, please feel free to explain it to me like I'm 5, because anyway, she's writing to Babbage while she's doing all of this as well. And she is, when she's writing to him, as well as talking about his ideas and her assessment of them, she's also presenting ideas for how his theories, his designs might be used. So, for example, she suggests that some of the things that she could, I don't really understand what this means. She talks about how the analytical engine can shift and change to be able to do other things. Her work is published in September 1843. And it's published, the article is called A Sketch of the Analytical Engine Invented by Charles Babbage, Esquire. This is the translation. So she credits L.F. Menabrea of Turin, officer of military engineers. She as translator is not identified on the title page, but her notes, she is signed as Augusta Ada Lovelace. She is questioning all of the ways that this analytical engine could be applied. One of the things that she hypothesizes, and this sounds really cool, is that it could potentially understand the relation of pitched sounds and the science of harmony. So it could perhaps be used to read, maybe create music. In her article, the quote is, "The engine might compose elaborate and scientific pieces of music of any degree, complexity, and extent." She also, in addition to this being, she's taking this computer and seeing how it can become creative. and generative. And I think that's just really fascinates me that those two things are coming together, that it's almost a poetry of science.
So she wouldn't be surprised by AI now. You could plonk her.
She's a poetical scientist.
Yeah. You could plonk her in today and she'd be like, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. I think perhaps there's parts of it that she would not have seen coming.
No, but I don't think she would be surprised by it.
I think she'd be fascinated
behind it, wouldn't she? To be fair, if she was here now, she probably 20, 30 years ago, she would have thought, I had an idea.
Yeah. She says she apparently sees the graphical potential of this analytical engine, and sees that by using a punched card, the scientific information can be viewed in a whole new light. Her metaphor for this is, quote, analytical engine weaves algebraical patterns just as the jacquard loom weaves flowers and leaves, which is the most beautiful description of a scientific mechanical implement working. I wish I knew what the fuck she was talking about, because it sounds gorgeous. It sounds delightful. However, she does see that this kind of really high-flying, highfalutin ideas about what the boundaries, the almost boundless boundaries of this tech is. She does, however, impose or view there as being clear limits. She, for example, thinks that the analytical engine cannot originate anything, which actually is how AI works. AI is not originating anything. It is crowdsourcing.
Yet.
So her and Turing would probably have a disagreement. I mean, because of course, perhaps so if you say Turing proposes his test, the Turing test, to see if artificial intelligence has gained something beyond or equivalent to humanity, Ada doesn't believe that to be possible. And to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, there hasn't been a computer program so far that has reliably and repeatably passed the Turing test. Am I correct there?
Yeah, that's.
There was rumours that one had done it.
There's rumours that the language one had done it,
but then they've walked that back, haven't they?
Right. Okay.
I'm not sure.
Let's hope that Ada Lovelace is correct. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. So basically, this is the kind of
shit in, shit out.
Well, yeah, she is basically therefore precipitating a debate that we're still having with regards to the capacities of artificial intelligence. Like, can artificial intelligence ever do what the human mind does? Can it be self-teaching? Can it generate out of nothing in the way the human mind can? And there are some people who say that yes, we will get to that point, and there are others that will say that no machine will ever be able to mirror or echo biological matter. Her social circle also includes other scientists. She's mates with a guy called Sir David Brewster. He is a scientist who specializes in optics, and she is also pals with Michael Faraday. I believe Faraday cage fame.
She's moving in interesting circles.
She certainly is. Now, I know you're going to be talking about her legacy. Are you going to talk about the computer program Ada?
No.
Okay. So this is potentially part of her legacy, but it relates to her works. And this is my last thing. In 1979, the computer software language, which is actually the official language of the United States Department of Defense, is named Ada in her honor. And she's also commemorated with a blue plaque in London. So that is what I have. I'm not going to take on the sciencey work stuff anymore, because I did it. I did it with Muted as well, and I thought I played Billy Big Bollocks, and I was like, do you know what? It's history. I can definitely understand this. I can't. If there's a scientist again,
there's been some wonderful metaphors for what she did in the comments. That if I can find them, I can read them.
Do they still use Ada then? Because I didn't know it was still in use.
I don't know what key punch cards are, I'll be honest with you.
So
Oh, you'd know one if you saw one. You would, if you saw them, you'd know what they were. Does that make sense?
Okay.
I don't know where Dr. Kathleen said, think like a knitting or crocheting pattern, a plan of instructions on how to create something. That was one thing. So think of it as Holcomification. Says Babbage made think of it as Babbage made the playing cards, Ada came up with the rules for poker.
Okay.
And then the cards are like the pattern. How to so yeah.
So with the lady with all the books that are as tall as her, to make that into a spaceship, did it have to go from the books into typey type? Did somebody have to input that into a machine? Are punch cards the thing going into
the you're asking the wrong
Well, the
people.
thing is as spaceships are mechanical things, I don't know, because obviously you could have a machine that you had instructions, like a kit car. It's a machine, but you have written instructions to put it together, don't you? So I don't know at what point there were computer mechanisms during the space race, weren't there? But I don't know how much of it was going. And then, if IKEA made space shuttles.
Okay. Kathleen Brunner's just said punch card predated magnetic tape. What's magnetic tape? I know my husband likes to tell me that the first man landed on the moon in a spaceship where the tech that they had on the spaceship for the men landing on the moon fits into an iPhone. So I'm aware of this. I have these concepts in my mind.
What's hilarious is we all think we're dead clever, or maybe we don't really, but because we carry these around. If something awful happened and the people who know how the hell these work, or even your electric car or your dishwasher or your washing machine, like how many of us would be like, how long would it take for those to be reinvented? If there was some catastrophe and like everyone who knew how to, they went. I mean, the average human being doesn't understand this stuff.
Okay, well, presumably these things would all get eliminated because of some form of Armageddon, in which case hopefully it'll take me as well. Because I can't.
Well, I'm hoping that's when my muscles.
EMP. There was a big enough EMP, we'd all be fucked. Everything. Or anything with a chip.
Solar flare, I don't know, something. But no, it has to take the people out. It has to take enough people out that there aren't enough. What I'm saying is like
Terminator. That's what's going to happen.
I couldn't make an iPhone. I don't know how computer code works, so I can't do any of this.
To be fair, I've got Oscar. He knows how, because he codes stuff. He's taught himself Lua, so
we'll keep him safe then.
Yeah. Apparently Java's not a big thing anymore.
No, see, that's the thing though. Computer languages are like spoken languages. Like just because you know one doesn't mean you know another.
Java's a language
you know is useful.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Program. I don't. Yeah. I'm
so
a
little bit of programming.
Old.
So little.
I like living in the 16th century. That makes me feel safe.
You like antibiotics, darling.
I mean, I like living in the 16th century in my mind, but having antibiotics today. I like my level of tech to be, how does Shakespeare make storms happen on the globe stage? That's the tech I want to know about.
Yeah.
You want to be able to order sushi and get an Uber driver to bring it to you.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to know how any of it works. I want it to be like magic and witchcraft, like they thought it would have been in the 16th century.
Oh,
that's what I want it to be like.
Orman's book on witches. Anyway.
I know it's called JavaScript, but I thought it was like a program. I didn't know it was a language.
Use the language to do the programming.
I need you both to promise that if I suggest, when it comes to anybody scientific or mathematical or geographical, if I say I'm going to do their work, please stop me, because I don't know. My eyes are too big for my belly and I'm stupid.
No, you were very kind because you knew I was away. Not that I'm saying I would have been any better at it at all. But
I think you might have been. You're more minded than me. I'm very good at flat pack. I can build a flat pack. I can follow instructions.
Well, there you go. You can have sent it to the moon then. She's written all the things. She gives
you put it together.
Do we have any rants this week, ladies?
I don't know actually.
No new ones. We've had more
More of the same.
more YouTube comments. I got one to say about my Princes in the Tower video. Now, to be fair to me, I thought it was quite good, but I did it like a week or two after my finger got chopped off, so I was doing quite well to even be like in front of a camera, and then someone's taken. But it's weird. It's a weird comment, so I don't know. Can't really rant about it because it didn't make any sense. I ignored it.
Well, there you go. Here's a potential rant.
Oh, hang on. I forgot my what's it. Bear with me, caller. I need to
Steve thinks I should continue on my rant about tech. God.
Well, to be fair, I only know the bits I know because of Oscar. Because I found out that with Minecraft, there's a JavaScript version of Minecraft, and they don't always play the same way.
I don't know what Minecraft is, babe.
You don't?
No,
oh, wow.
Good for kids. No, we didn't lose me. Pretty pick. I don't like people to know where I keep my veil, and I'd forgotten to bring it out. So
it's a secret veil of secret people.
Secret veil place.
Right, come on then. Who's raised?
People who are writing books with ChatGPT, swiftly followed by the people who buy them.
Who's writing books with ChatGPT?
There'll be definitely people who are doing that.
Loads of people. So apparently what happens is that they are normally I don't know, maybe 30,000 words-ish, give or take a little bit, and it generates it all for you. It does the cover art and everything like that. Now, if you're a decent person, you'd go, oh, well, you know, I've used it to get some basic ideas, and now I will build on that model and I will triple check all the information. So you could maybe say, well, okay, if you know very little about something, you could ask it for some basic facts or a timeline or something to start to give you something to greatly expand on. But people are literally just getting ChatGPT.
They're going to be shit then, aren't they? They're going to be...
Oh, right, absolutely. So then you sell them for like $4 or $5. And people, and you pick topics that are popular, like JavaScript and veils and Ada Lovelace and crack and chocolate, things like that. And so and then it just there's no physical product because it's all done for downloads. I mean, you could probably do hard copies as well if you wanted to through WordPress or something like that, or other What City thingies are available. But yeah, you can just do them as downloads if you want, so you don't even have to really even touch anything.
I wonder though, like Instagram have pretty quickly, so presumably Meta as well, the whole thing, pretty quickly put a button on, and sometimes they prompt you to say, this looks like AI made it. Did AI make it? And you can put a button on. So I wonder if that will happen with,
hopefully,
Amazon.
So I think there's a place for it, for like as a starting point, or you know, if you wanted to know all the organisations in the UK that dealt with animal welfare, you could say, oh, tell me all the organisations in the UK, and it will give you a nice list to start with. To if you wanted to contact them for some reason. For the love of Christ, which knobend is writing books like this?
I think books, they need to be more considered than that. I can't like, you can you get AI to make your book for you, it will, but then why are you fucking bothering? Well, you're only bothering to make money, which, to be fair, we've had a rant before about people who've actually written books that were only to make money and was shit, and they came out of their head. So
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, there's always going to be shit books for the undiscerning reader and the clickbaity writer who just wants a quick buck.
I mean, you could, if you were going to do something deliberately shit as fiction, deliberately shit, like give it really horrendous prompts just for the lols, and then people were prepared to buy it, then I suppose that's fair enough.
That would be funny, though.
Exactly. And you've had to use some of your creativity, and also don't be an asshat. Edit the fucking thing as well. Do you know what I mean? At least read
Again,
it to you
there's
sometimes.
plenty of
Get your
writers
mate
who
to
do.
read it for you. Do you know what I mean? It's just like slackers, grifters. They should all be dragged out the front of bookshops and
any non-fiction book with no references, take it back. Zach, thank you very much. The
Zach.
Thank you very much, Zach. Yeah, that's
kind of you.
if you are writing non-fiction, particularly if you are writing non-fiction where you are arguing or seeking to educate,
Yeah, don't do off the top of
there
your
needs to
head.
be footnotes. I want to know where your cite your sources. Cite your
thing is as well,
I
though,
got it all from my head.
you're losing so much nuance. So if you think, for example, you know, somebody, so I'm just going to like so when Nathan's written his book, for example, on the Tudor pretenders, so you can roll out all of this type of stuff, but the nuances of the conversations he stored in his head from the chats he's had with other historians, the talks he's done, the interactions he's had from the audience that bring up new things all the time, the battles he has with Matt, you know, as well as all the wider sources, the very ancient texts and things like that, and it's had translations. All of these things are very nuanced, and you cannot get that from something so generic. It's I mean, you could do something like recipes for chocolate cake, I suppose, and collate 100 different recipes for 100 types of chocolate cake. So I suppose something like that. It's a collating exercise. People might like that. So I could maybe forgive that if you edited it nicely and this recipe comes from this book, this recipe comes from this book, and you gave credit to. So I might let people off for that, maybe. If they do it
there's one of two things that are happening. If you're not citing your sources, particularly if you're writing history, or even like you said, like the recipe books, if you aren't citing where some of those ideas come from, you are plagiarizing, or you're making stuff up at a certain level. You know, when we had those conversations, and we were talking, and we've had lots of conversations. I think this might have been back on Clubhouse, and it was the first time I'd heard about the story about Edward VI and the plucking of the bird, right? And I thought that was really interesting. Do you know what I didn't do? I didn't repeat it verbally, in writing, or on a video until I had found the source that backed it up, till I had found a primary source to back it up. And I looked for that my goddamn self.
Yeah.
And it's available. And that's how I also found out that a very similar story earlier is attributed to having happened with the person who becomes the Emperor Charles V. That's how I made that connection. That it said that Charles V did it first. So that's the likelihood is then that Edward VI didn't do it. That it's something that they are talking about because Charles V is supposed to have done it. I doubt he did it either. Or if it did happen, it's stage managed because of the effect it had. So that's if I hadn't gone looking for the source, if I just repeated this story that I'd heard about Edward the sociopath, then there wouldn't be that additional information about perhaps this is somebody shaping a narrative of Edward. And that, I think, it makes it even more interesting.
Yeah. It's going to be the death of, well, no, I don't know. It needs to be.
It runs the risk of denting creativity, genuine creativity.
And there's already been too much of a influx of substandard work to dilute an already tough market. And if that is, you know, and as book buyers and readers, we won't know from a cover, you know, of a book that's on the shelf whether it is a genuine good piece of work or not. I have slight insight into this.
Most of the covers generated by AI are fairly shit.
No, but I'm not talking about, I don't mean the covers necessarily. I mean the actual book. Like there's books available that are subpar and they're on shelves right next to really good, well-researched books where someone has put their entire life around researching and writing that book for 4 or 5 years, and they're next to something that hasn't even been edited properly.
And that's a big thing. Like, a doctoral thesis of 100,000, 80 to 100,000 words, minimum 3 years of work. Minimum. If somebody is churning out academic text or historical non-fiction text every, I don't know anybody who's doing this, but every 6 months, you've got to fucking question that. You've got to question that. Now, I'm not saying the more you work, the faster you get. But if a doctoral thesis of 80,000 to 100,000 words, which is shorter than a book, if that takes minimum 3 years, most people go over, or certainly most people I knew went over. How are people turning out a book every 6 months? Doesn't make any sense, does it?
No, but then people have support sometimes, don't they?
They're
Or they're
ghostwriters,
writing
maybe.
something.
Maybe they've got ghostwriters. Maybe they
or research teams, things like that.
Even with research teams. So even with a research team, so for example, it tends to be your first year, maybe year and a half. Let's call it safe. Your first year is researching it. Now, let's say you have got a team of 6 people. Maybe they could pull together various bits of research in a couple of months, maybe 3 months. You still then have to synthesize that research into a book that is publishable, that is well edited, that makes a new argument. That's 2 years. That's 2 years. Even if you're not doing your own research. Oh, hello.
Oh. The balloons are very excited. That's what they think.
Maybe I'm just shit and slow, but I don't see how it could be possible to churn out work that quickly.
I think some people can do it quicker because it's literally all they have. You know, if they're not married, not got kids, you know, the life, you know, whatever. But I think there's definitely an element of practice. And some people are just better at putting words in sentences.
Yeah, that's true.
Or they've got really good editors or whatever.
Quick.
But no, yeah, 6 months is not 6 months. 6 months.
But I don't know when he's doing that.
Well, a doctoral thesis is going to require a level of analytics that a lot of books are.
Well, also to pass a thesis, it has to be a genuine contribution to knowledge, which
that's my big gripe with the books. There's my big gripe with the books. And if there's an AI generated book, it cannot be contributing to knowledge because it's
sourced it from other stuff.
Putting together, yeah. And how is it going to discern whether that was good stuff or not? So, yeah. There you go. There's a rant for today.
Yeah.
Good.
I like it.
Oh, now.
Let's talk about Ada Lovelace legacy. Legacy Lovelace.
Now, I forgot to put a picture of her up earlier. Sorry about that.
She's beautiful and her lovely little look at that, isn't it? Jesus Christ. How many birds died for that bastard? Bugger me.
It's a style.
That's a lot.
It's a style.
The hair situation, what I think is nice, right, is who needs earmuffs? You're out, you're going skating on the frozen lake. You don't need earmuffs because your hair can do it for you. But doesn't she have a lovely face there? Isn't she beautiful?
She is very beautiful.
Doe-eyed is the word. Doe-eyed.
It's a lovely
like her father.
Yeah.
What is she?
I like the style. I think she's holding a fan.
I thought it looked like some kind of slap and tickle device.
It might be. Well, I have another picture of her later, so let's have a look. So yes, so her legacy. I mean, it's very telling that everyone knows her name. That she only lives till 36, and yet look how much she packed in to her adult life. It's
like
really
Jesus.
Yeah,
like Jesus.
Like Jesus. It's weird that she 36 seems to be like a bit of
I mean, forget the 27 club. Fucking 36 whiskey biscuits.
Yeah, is it 36? Who?
Yes,
Dad.
37.
Who?
Jesus.
Jesus 33.
That's quite famously 33, but
no, there's been lots of
like so I don't know.
Musicians and stuff in more recent years, haven't they? Like
that was 27 club for musicians. So Janis Joplin.
How old was Marilyn Monroe? Was she? And Diana, wasn't she 36?
Oh, maybe. because the 27 Club, that is Janis Joplin,
Oh.
Mark Bolan,
Mm.
a whole, like, basically there was a whole, but Kurt Cobain, 27, I think.
Oof.
Yes, so the 27 Club is.
Yeah. So if you can get past 27, you can get past 36. You're okay. You're okay, and you're probably not that brilliant.
Yes.
You're a bit
You're that
average.
brilliant.
Still here. Yeah.
I mean, the 27
So-
Club is massively affected by heroin.
Yeah.
So it's the heroin club, really, isn't it? In most cases.
Amy Winehouse. Yeah, there you go. Jimi Hendrix. Anyway, sorry, I've started off
Died at
a
age 36. Marilyn Monroe, Princess Diana, Bob Marley, Catherine Parr, Bray Wyatt, Doc Holliday, Sage Stallone, Lord Byron. Yeah.
Told you.
Yeah.
Told you. It's one of them things.
Yes.
But so she dies in 1852, and really, computer program in its very, like, its basic nature hasn't changed. So I do think if she dropped on Earth today, I reckon she could get her head pretty quickly round all the all the languages and everything. Like, the concept, she would understand. Now, her legacy is obviously massive in computing. She probably predictably has become a figurehead, a role model for promoting the women in maths, engineering, science. There's actually an organization called Women Who Code, and they had a Twitter feed in 2020 with the hashtag Ada Lovelace within the question, what does Ada Lovelace oh my god.
You can do it.
I'm too tired. What does Ada Lovelace represent for you? And I picked out a couple of the tweets. It's clear she inspires people, and in this particular case, women who want to get into computer science and coding, that she is she's an inspiration, and she's a useful figurehead as well. There is an annual Ada Lovelace Day. Don't know if you know this.
I like that.
It's held annually on the second Tuesday of October. So whatever the second Tuesday in October is, and that's used to celebrate and raise awareness of women in STEMs, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I wrote this down. It's a complete side note because it's not really anything to do with her legacy. But when I was doing my notes, I came across this. She is captured in one of two only surviving, here's a word that I can't say, daguerreotypes, which are an early sort of,
I think it's pronounced
photograph. Say that again?
Daguerreotype, I believe.
Daguerreotypes.
Don't quote me on that though.
It was taken in 1843, so when she was about 28, something like that. Anyway, so yes, so she is in one of those only two surviving, well, in layman's terms, early photographs. I mean, she was incredible because she saw. We got to think we're obviously always looking backwards, but she not only saw the potential in the technology that was being developed, she was incredibly clear in her vision of it and was able to articulate her assertions, like you were saying before. And so she inspired her contemporaries and has continued to inspire people throughout the rest of time. Young women in computing, art. There's I wanted to bring up some pictures, but I was a bit worried that we might get in trouble if I brought them up. But if anyone wants to check them out, artcollection.culture.gov.uk. That's artcollection.culture.gov.uk. And if you have a look on their site for Ada Lovelace, she's inspired a whole load of pieces where people have tried to represent kind of the old and the new weaving in. So right through to like modern day technology weaved into kind of right back to the paper and the dots and whatever you were trying to explain before, the cards and the holes. Street names, loads of places named after her. There's lots in the UK, but there's also Ada Lovelace streets in Germany, Austria, France, Spain, and Israel. Probably more if I'd have carried on looking. This is the Ada Lovelace Day, one of the images that I came across. Now, this is what I thought. This is what I said about earlier. When you said about what is she holding in
That's like
the
a crowbar.
It looks like a crowbar. Yes, I think she's holding. So,
What's she got a crowbar?
The
so she
cat,
has
look
her
at
card.
what she's holding in her other hand, punch card.
Yes, so she has the card. Yeah, but in the yeah.
I like her collar. It's very jaunty.
You know when you might have seen these, the best place to probably is in have you ever been to a like carnival or something where they've got a steam powered music machine?
Somebody brought up the kind of those pianos that you.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Or like similar principle on those boxes, like jewelry boxes and stuff with the little ting ting tings. So yeah.
Pretty Pictures put up a great comment that I think if we can pin it, in honor of Ada Lovelace, investigate your library's digital services. No matter the size, they have at least something for you. So yes, do that.
Yeah. And you mentioned one of you mentioned earlier the blue plaques.
Yeah.
A few places actually claim her, but I put this one up at Kirkby Hall, being her childhood home. I think there's one in London where she lived for a bit, and so there's a few around.
One is it's 10, what used to be 10 St James's Square, now 12 St James's Square.
Yeah, someone build something. So yeah, really, I mean, I haven't really got a lot more to say. It's almost like she's just her work's endured, her reputation has endured, and her ability to inspire has endured. There was a school set up in Ealing in 2018, the Ada Lovelace C of E High School.
Yeah,
she's still inspiring. Like educational establishment named after her recently.
It's instigate the conversation because we're all a bit like, none of us are really very mathsy, are we, ladies? But now we've gone and we've just, even with our, we're not going to be sending anything into space anytime soon. But we've been able to look at her work over all these pre-go, and we've been able to map it onto AI. Does that make sense? So we there were people putting in the comments, and we've gone, well, yeah, basically she's the forefront of AI. Really?
Yeah, I think also it's the case, like while we certainly on this channel don't buy into at a time when women could do nothing but sew and rub their two brain cells together and bang out babies, one woman rose to lead them all. While we don't buy into that, what we can't do either is the kind of complete reverse of that. We can't project the point. We can't throw baby out with bathwater. And when Ada Lovelace, and after Ada Lovelace, and before her, and still to this day, there are people on the earth, sometimes whole communities of people on the earth, who do not see the value of women, full stop, who do not see the value of educating women and giving them aspirations and hopes. And there are women and girls across the world fighting for the chance to have an education, fighting for the chance to live a life on their own terms as much as possible in a career. And that's not for everybody, I get that.
But we could be missing. I mean, her brain was not, it didn't work like anyone else's brain.
Exactly.
Not only could she vision it.
She had a different mother.
Well,
who
she
wasn't very
clearly, I mean, it's
interesting
interesting,
and
like the nature-nurture kind of
yeah,
debate, because she clearly had
she clearly
in
had
her
an
genes.
she had an artistic temperament. She had an artist's soul, but being molded with the anodyne of her mother, the core of her didn't go away. And that's what I think is so fascinating, is that actually the world of STEM without creativity, you don't get Ada Lovelace. If you have STEM alone without, and that's why I think STEAM is interesting, the addition of the arts into that kind of, we
Well,
need
it's
more polymaths. That's what we need. We need more
we
polymaths.
need people
And
who will think. We need people who will get bored, allow themselves to be bored
yep.
and curious
Yeah.
and not bound by. Yeah, I mean, so clearly she was thinking STEAM and stuff because that was the technology around. But I don't think that she would have, like, I mean, what if she'd have lived longer? It's almost anything, but yet still articulate it, which is incredible.
And what's also amazing is that she's so prepared to be collaborative. And
Yes,
people,
which
and clearly she was somebody who people trusted with their ideas. Like, not only
mm,
did they respect her intellect, but they trusted her character to share with her the stuff that was their life's work.
yeah.
She must have been charismatic, endearing, kind, brilliant, because otherwise people aren't going to go to her time and time again. She must have been supportive of their ideas. And if she had criticisms, she must have worded it in a way that fragile egos, which we one of the things we've seen consistently with the scientists and inventors of this period, is they will start a fight by themselves in a fucking paper bag. The fact that she has these lifelong, and I know her life is short, but she has these consistent friendships and sharing with her is testament to the fact that she hasn't got a stick up her arse, I think.
Isn't it?
But yeah, I do think that when we think about Ada Lovelace, although the things that she is able to do whilst being a woman at this time, we I think in many ways have built our career in certain extents off of the stuff that she's done. Let's be very clear, we probably wouldn't be doing or able to do what we're doing. Would YouTube even exist if Ada Lovelace hadn't?
I don't think it. Well, that she is right at the
Vanguard.
the very beginning of imagining that the computer, as opposed to the calculator or the machine, the programmable machine. She could vision that it could go beyond making calculations,
Yeah.
like, and to the music point, that it could be used to create
Creative. Yeah.
music. Like, how? She's got no reference for this, and it makes me wonder whether we sort of, what are we now, 200 almost years down the line, and we have very much we put everything, we put disciplines in silos. You know, when in a science lesson has anyone ever been like encouraged to look out the window and just mull on what they've just learnt and let their mind wander? You're not fucking allowed to do it. You know,
No.
it's very yeah, you're just siloed, and you go down this one path, and this is what you learn and did, and like, where does the creativity come from? Where does the, you know,
Yeah.
you need people. Then you get people like your Elon Musks who are eccentric because they can manage to do that, but by virtue of being, I don't think you need to be eccentric to be able to do that, but you need to have sort of grown up practicing it. Sort of, it needs to be second nature.
I
But
do
also
think
with technology, I just don't think people get bored anymore. I'm
yeah.
concerned that the younger generation. Well, actually, to be fair, I don't allow myself to get bored as much as I used to, because you've got a phone next to you or something.
Yeah.
Where, you know, would a mind like Ada Lovelace come out if she'd been in a different era? Well, maybe she would have. But do you know what I mean? There might be other people who aren't flourishing
Yeah.
the way they could.
I mean, look, today, the great painters are not, for example, going down to the anatomists. The people who were painting physical forms in the late early modern into the Enlightenment period were spending time at the anatomists. They knew how to draw a hand because they'd seen underneath the skin. They'd seen the muscles. They'd gone to autopsies. The great artists of the day were also drawing mechanical device. They were drawing aeroplanes. They were creating and designing primitive aeroplanes. We have lost in many ways the polymath, and the people that are in that kind of creative field and they have those polymathic capabilities. You know what they also have in common? They have something in common with Ada Lovelace, and that's privilege. They are rich. They are nobility or of a kind of monetary status where they have. It's not about getting bored. It's about having opportunities to talk to people and to have sessions and lessons and to experience things that most people don't. I think it would be very hard, particularly in like mainstream education, to become polymathic. I mean, in the UK, the standard is 3 A levels, and you are in sort of like you are in a discipline, and then you go to university and you study 1, maybe 2 subjects. Other places in the world don't do that, of course. Other places in the world don't do that.
I mean, by bored, I mean like I don't mean. I mean, there's just brain space. Like, where's the time where anyone gives their brain some space to wander? That's why people walk and stuff. You know, like just get me out. And then we've got AirPods now, so that so you're still putting a podcast, but. Yeah. What do people say? Their best ideas come to them in the shower, because that's probably the one place where you actually can't still have your technology. You can blast up your music, but whatever. Like and
but I mean,
we've got a generation
coming. The kind of that capacity and willingness to be alone with your own thoughts in a world where we have been educated, and many of us have been educated and socialized to feel guilty about being non-productive. That kind of quiet thought. We put headphones in and listen to a podcast because then while we're doing something, we're still learning, we're absorbing. And the people who don't feel that are people with a lot of money. I think that there is a degree to which privilege explains people who are prepared to spend all day laying on the sofa thinking thoughts with their sketchbook, just thinking thoughts, because they haven't been warned all of their life that if they get lazy, terrible things will happen. When you've got a trust fund with multiple zeros to your name, more money than you, your children, or your grandchildren will ever spend, all of a sudden, those threats don't have the effect anymore.
No, but I'm talking way more basic than that. I'm just talking about not every minute being filled with either. You know, I was in Fountains Abbey yesterday. Do you want to know what the teenagers were doing in Fountains Abbey?
What?
They were looking down on their phones. There was fucking no signal. Zero signal. No signal. They were still looking down on their phones. They were there with their school, college, whatever. They're in Fountains Abbey. It's an incredible place. And they're on their phones. They are not used to just being. So I'm not even like, I'm just like, where are the brilliant minds going to come from if their minds are constantly occupied with rubbish? I'm having a rant now. I could have kept this for next week.
Well, it's that thing, isn't it? It keeps us distracted, doesn't it? And if we're distracted,
I know, I get frustrated because I do it. I get frustrated with myself.
We do have to acknowledge with teenagers is that for a lot of them, they spent at least 2, maybe more years unsocialized in really formative years. I think we are seeing the soaring rates of depression and social anxiety in our young people coming off the back of the isolation of COVID that they experienced, and the damage to every aspect of their learning. The phones have become a crutch because these children are damaged.
That was how they communicated. That was how they weren't completely and utterly
lifeline.
isolated.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that either.
I mean, saying that, I get frustrated because I can feel myself doing it. You know, now, what the hell have I got my phone there now for? I'm talking to all of you lot for 2 hours. Why is my phone there? Because I'm so used to it. So I'm having as much of a, I'm as frustrated as me. But I remember a life before phones.
Yeah.
And well, I got a phone when I was at university. So there's this little window of that, like whatever gen, whatever, doesn't matter. Of people who started school without a phone and ended school or schooling with a phone. And it's like, it's
millennials.
Only a few years. No. There's like a few years of us that kind of had it, but a little bit like, anyway.
Right.
But at the end, so basically the generation behind me had a phone for as far as I could remember. Like their adult life, they went into adult life. I mean, they were basic then, obviously. Nokia 3210, brilliant.
Oh yeah,
I would like to go back to them one day.
Snake.
Yeah. Yes.
Snake.
I filled the whole screen with Snake.
You saucy bitch. Of course you did.
And you could use your alphanumeric keypad to text as fast as any text nowadays.
Oh, for sure. And the ringtones, the banter with. Do you remember buying ringtones off of it was in Cosmo Girl or Bunty or something like the young lady magazines. They'd have like ringtones at the back. And I remember when every fucker got Crazy Frog and it made me want to rip my fucking eyeballs out.
Yeah.
Those are the days. Oh my God.
Yeah. And they also weren't.
Also, you never used your phone to call home because you'd go to the phone booth and you'd reverse charge call because you never had any minutes on your phone. You'd be like, no.
Yeah, well, it's very expensive, wasn't it? Now we just text all the time. I mean, you used to pay per text.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh no, Scarlett, Bunty didn't do ringtones. Bunty had adverts for people doing ringtones. You made that clear. It was adverts in the magazines.
Yeah.
So it'd be like a kind of, put this ringtone on your phone, or you could put like different things and stuff like that.
Yeah. Pages, yeah. I had a pager for a bit.
I'm slightly too young for a pager to have been a thing.
I had one for I was on standby. I used to do standby for the water company. So I had they didn't give us mobile phones for a while. So that's when I had a pager. Chrissy, thank you for the
99.
Again. Thank you, Chrissy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, we should all go now and just be bored for a couple of months. I have started doing.
I will say that I want to spread a message of hope because I'm on the
that's when people pick up books. I don't hear sorry to cut across your cat, but there's just one thing that I hear when you hear people interviewed on podcasts that are like, my age and up, maybe your age and up, Kat. You hit so many stories start with, I picked up a book off my granddad's shelf or my dad's shelf or my mom's shelf or whatever. Now I'm not saying no teenager is doing that, but it is not happening at the same rate that it used to. Everyone has been bored in our age has been bored in their grandparents' house or someone's house and looked at a bookshelf and picked up a book. That will not be happening if they get bored and they pick up a phone. It's not going to happen. It concerns me, and you can tell.
What I will say is that having been on the TikToks, the Gen Z are far more privacy aware than we are.
Oh, they're going to be, yeah.
And Gen Alpha are seem to be on the path of rejecting a lot of this stuff. There are young
Interesting.
kids in their sort of teens going out and about. They're not asking for smartphones. They're asking for dumb phones. They don't want to be tracked. They don't want any of it.
I mean, I have to say, mine don't.
To what picking up books. I told you ladies about this. So this is a little picture from. So I bought David Onosoga's Black and British Illustrated History. I bought it because, shameless plug, I contributed to his documentary on the history of Covent Garden. And so I bought this book for when Gabriel was older. We have all his books in his room. He can pick up whatever he wants. What brings that up is you talking about it, about kids picking up books. Obviously, my kid's not a teenager. He's 3. So he picks up, and he's now obsessed with the book Black and British. However, he's particularly obsessed by this image of the American War of Independence. And he is fascinated by this. And we're having to have the repeated question, because there's people with rifles pointed at each other. There's a big fire in this image. And my son keeps saying, Mummy, why are they trying to kill each other? And I'm like, how do you explain war to a 3-year-old, 3.5-year-old? And I know it's not going to be too long before I've got to explain enslavement and Windrush to him. Because those will be the next pages. Those will be further on in the book. And I do think, I remember picking up books at his age that were far too old for me. I remember being shown books at his age that were far too old for me. And that stuff definitely does stick. So perhaps we're going to have,
but it's that pricking the interest.
My son, a kind of historian and another historian.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And he'll be like, yeah, because I remember this book when I was, I mean, God, if he remembers when he's 3.5, he'll be amazing. But like, it is that kind of thing. Or I picked up a book. My son's fascinated with history, but not the period I do, unfortunately. And maps. I bought him a book of like political maps yesterday, religious maps, you know. And oh my God, it was like I, bought him a car. He loved it. And, I'm saying this about teenagers. He goes out without his phone. He's not that asked about it. But I just think, I don't know. I'm quite buoyed by the idea that there would be a bit of a backlash, actually.
Yeah. And I do
sort of, do you know what? I'm just going to go out and not be tracked, because we are. Yeah. The tracking is.
There's an element as well with this kind of clampdown and the discussion about kids on screens and how bad it is, and and schools banning phones, etc., etc. The last thing you want to do with a preteen teenager is make something illicit. The last fucking thing you want to do is ration access to something that you're telling them is bad for them. For Christ's sake, I was smoking at 13 for that very fucking reason. I had a tattoo at 15 for that very fucking reason. And I was drinking shitty cider in parks when I was far too young because I was told it was bad for me. The narrative around, so one of the things I always do when I'm leading sessions is, if I want people to kind of take notes, I say, I don't care where you take notes. Take them on paper, take them on your phone. I don't care. If I'm asking them to find something out, I say, use what's available to you, including your phone, to find out this information. Because guess what? Learning to Google effectively is a really important skill. It's a really important skill.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the worst thing you're doing to kids is constantly banging on about how bad screens are, because my God, you may as well be telling them that screens are fucking ecstasy. And guess what? They're going to be pilling their tits off.
So as somebody with shitty eyesight, I would recommend that kids don't spend that much time on screens. So.
Yeah, but don't fucking tell them that. Don't tell them it's bad for them.
They can be as blind as me. Like.
Steve, tell kids that that school history is bad for you. Yes. Don't learn history. History, don't learn it.
Shit, mate.
You need to reverse psychology the shit out of kids. Tell them it's bad for them. Critical thinking, dangerous. Don't learn to read. Don't do that. That'll make you think too much. No, bad for your brain holes.
You read, because the thing is with a book, the difference is, as opposed to an article or something, is someone's got to have spent quite a bit, unless they've done it with GPT, spent quite a bit of time, especially if you're thinking about books that have been published sort of from 10 years ago and before. You know, it's harder to have got published. They have to have really done a good job, basically, or should have done. And actually, I would recommend people pick up some books which were written pre-pandemic, the whole, basically from pre-2020. I would recommend some of them because they're very, very interesting in the way they talk. But anyway, and then read another book on the subject and another book on the subject, so that you understand that the context matters and nuance matters and point of view matters when somebody is writing. You're not going to get that if you go, oh, let me just. We all wiki things, right? We all do it because it is a good sort of starting point for going off and looking at other things. But if that's the only place you ever go,
yeah,
you know, if you think that's the extent of what's required, you're just missing out. You're really missing out.
Oh, for sure. And the thing is, what I'm seeing in the young people that I'm encountering, and particularly in their engagement with social media, they are so much savvier than certainly people older when it comes to like narratives that are put out on TikTok, or I mean they're not on Facebook, they're too young. But when they see particularly narratives that are put out on TikTok, they can sniff out spin. And I'm talking like 13-year-olds can sniff out, they're like bloodhounds for bullshit. It's amazing.
Yeah, they are.
They
No,
go,
they are.
well, that's okay, but you've just put it this way and that way. And it's because they are just constantly assaulted by people trying to get them to think stuff. They are doubting Thomases to a man. And actually, I think screen time, we are creating a generation of critical thinkers.
I hope you're right.
That's the way. I mean, maybe I'm being overly positive, but I think the fear that we have about the rise of tech, I don't think it's going to be the problem we think it is for the generations that are going to be digital natives. It's a problem for us digital tourists because we are fucking Brits abroad, high on the sangria of social media, and we've all got our pics out and we're sunburned. That's what's happened.
Yeah, but it's not just social media, is it? Like, you can't go anywhere without your phone, without needing the app for it or the something for it. I actually asked my son, like I said, who doesn't actually take his phone out with him all the time, not that bothered. Did he think there'd be a backlash, or does he think, from knowing, you know, people he's around at his age, or does he think they're going to lean more into tech, like maybe when it's, you know, you don't even have to remember your phone now, you can just have a chip? And he's like, yeah, they'll lean into that big style.
Say, oh, if I do that, it would be really convenient, wouldn't it?
Convenience always wins. Human history tells us convenience will win out.
When something becomes, it
was wrong.
The thing is that when something becomes a convenience source rather than a luxury, you value it less. The problem for us with our smartphones is that while they are convenient, they are also viewed as a luxury. And thus, the things that they do and the things that come out of them, we view as being that luxury. Luxury is to be trusted. When you see something as purely a convenience, when it's, you know, you hop into the nearest fast food chain, it isn't like going to the Ritz. You value it differently. We value our relationship with our phones because we view it as a luxury, I believe. Whereas I think that once it becomes pure convenience, everyone's got one and they all look the same, which increasingly they are all looking the same, it won't be a luxury anymore. When people stop...
No, but it'll be necessary.
It'll be necessary. Yeah, there are plenty of things that are necessary that we don't value. Plenty of it.
Like, but it would mean coming away from it is almost impossible. It's almost impossible now.
Yeah, I think though, but once it passes the threshold of being a luxury and it becomes necessity, or just convenience, it won't have the same power to alter the way we see the world. It will just be like a car or fast food chain. Like, they were once incredibly special because you know, hardly anybody had one. Now it's ubiquitous, and once it's ubiquitous, it doesn't have the authority over us. It's just a thing we all have. but it doesn't have the authority. Like a credit card. Credit cards, really useful things. Once upon a time, incredible luxury. Now, most people have one in their wallet.
And they're
Doesn't
still
really have
had
power. Doesn't really
Mm.
have that much power, as much as it did anyway. The power diminishes when the luxury goes away, I believe.
Yeah, the problem with credit cards though is the the power of them is
mobile
people
phones
not
with them.
really understanding what they are. And
Well, that you see
Yeah,
now,
I mean,
that's
that's
something
failure of
else as
education.
well, is I'm finding with like probably maybe yours are a bit older, Philip, it's a bit different, but lots of children now don't understand money. And
yeah.
I don't just mean, you know, because it goes on a card, doesn't matter if it's a tenner or if it's 50 quid, like they will look at money and they don't get it. Like, is it that what's that? What does it mean? What does it represent? And they can't even sort of, you know, there's no, we will say, oh, it's easier to spend money when you're spending it on a car because it doesn't feel like you're handing over money, and that's so true. But they don't even.
Well, there are. I haven't seen any of those toys where they've got play tills and play money. Haven't
No,
seen them.
no.
Oh, that was a fun game when you're little as well, playing with tills.
The big
Play
kind of like
shops.
imaginative play toys that I see now are kitchen toys. They love a kitchen toy most
They do,
places.
yeah.
And also kind of like playing jobs. So at Gabriel's daycare, they did a whole session on like medical professionals. So Gabriel was a paramedic. So that's the sort of that's the games they play.
Have you taken him to Kidzania?
No, but it's on the list.
It so should be. I managed to get Ava in there. We went January 2020, and by the time we came out of the pandemic, she'd have been way too old. But brilliant. They get to choose. It's like a little miniature city where they get to do loads of different jobs, and they get to earn money, and they get to go to the bank, and they get to put it on a card. And if they go back, so you'll get a card. So if they go back, you can earn more money. We can spend it. It's very good, very good.
Oh, okay. I'll check that out with him.
Yeah.
I mean, he does love playing make believe. He does.
Oh, he'd love it. He'd love it. It's brilliant. Anyway, yeah. Because it's yeah, but they did have money in there, and they had cards as well. But it's good.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes kids, this quick one, can be very wise. I was here. Oscar was online in front of a screen with his mates earlier, and they were talking about some friends he got, and he went, "Look, it's very kind of you to want to help, but you cannot help somebody who won't help themselves." And I was like,
Really right. Too right.
Yeah.
Wise, 13 years old, wise. And
They are, though. They are.
Something right. I think I'm doing something right.
Yeah. My point is not that the kids are no more intelligent or anything like that. I just
no, not at all.
You know, think
there's
less opportunity for imagination, good ideas, stupid ideas, but ideas, you know.
Yeah, and even if you have these great ideas, you don't have access to like raw materials to build it. Or
I think also when your every move, and you can be painfully aware that every mistake you make could be being videoed to be uploaded to the internet.
Horrible.
You know, you have to sort of tell your kids before they leave the house, remember that the second you leave your house, assume you're being filmed.
Well, you're on Ringo doorbells.
Yeah,
you go into a supermarket.
Don't fuck up, because the internet currently is forever. So it wouldn't be right to not tell your kids that. And I think also there are a lot of kids who are on social media platforms without parents understanding the way those algorithms work. And most kids are great at navigating it. All will not be. And the internet it can be an amazing place, but it can also be a really dangerous place. And our children are vulnerable. And then on top of that, you've got this ongoing. Hang on. Do you know what? This is my bloody rant. This is my rant. And I'm sorry if this upsets anybody, because you may consume this content, but I'm going to make a plea that you don't. Please stop consuming content where kids are the content.
Oh, I know.
Please stop consuming family channels, please stop consuming kids doing fashion hauls. Please stop kids being pranked.
Oh,
Children if anybody is putting their child's nappy change onto social media
what?
or however many, if they're putting their first if they're putting their bath time or toilet training or whatever other fucking thing they're doing, stop it.
Are you
Don't
joking?
consume, and these people are making
I'm sorry.
hundreds of thousands of pounds or dollars a week, and they take their kids out of school to homeschool them so they're available to make more content. And there is no financial protection for any of these children. The Cougar laws exist for a reason. Stop consuming content made of kids. Sorry, that's my rant.
No, but we know also that the platforms can pick up on anything they want. They can pick up if we said a word in this that means that they're going to demonetize it. If we said, and you know, we've done one. I said a name of something that a spiky thing that's used, and that video got demonetized.
That happened in history that.
Yeah, and loads of history channels get demonetized because they want to talk about Nazi Germany or somewhere like that. And yet, that can't be picked up? Why? That's just, that's really...
Yeah.
There was one that Lucas used to watch, and it's this couple. Yeah, I was going to say something a bit rude then. Anyway, they've got these two small daughters. And she's like, oh, I'm not feeling very well. And he's like, oh, I reckon you're... They just vlog their lives. And, you know, you're not feeling very well. So she, on the camera, well, she says she hasn't showed the husband, but she does a pregnancy test, right? And she does it and she thinks it's positive. It's got a really faint line on it. So she gets one of the ones that it tells you how many days pregnant you are. So she does it and she's 12 days pregnant, right? So she's early doors. She makes a big social media announcement about it. Tells her kids.
Oh no.
How fucking stupid are you? Like, and also that's a private time for your family.
Yeah, they're not, they're monetizing what should be private. I mean, it's like the Kardashian effect, isn't it? You're just famous for being famous.
And the thing is, you know, things don't always go according to plan, do they? And then you've got to. So we were talking about earlier, Philippa, about like the people who put on Facebook that they tag themselves at their local hospital and oh, you okay, hun? I'll PM you. Yeah, in that voice.
Here's the thing. Imagine, I mean, we never went through this, but for some children growing up now, it will be the case that they have been on the internet, potentially in front of millions of people, while they were still in utero.
So something changed there.
When they're
something changed there. Because sorry.
So I was going to say, at the 20 weeks down, people on the internet are seeing their genitals potentially in a 20-week scan. Imagine being that child at 18, 21, wherever, trying to get a job. There's another reason to take them out of school is that they're going to be horrendously bullied. Because when you are 14 or 15 and there's footage of you toilet training or peeing in the bath or having a fucking tantrum, you can't be in school. Kids are awful to each other. And then imagine trying to get a job. What are you going to be? You're going to be a lawyer? You're going to be a lawyer with that back catalogue?
You couldn't be a politician. So. You couldn't be somebody in the public eye.
No.
Well, you could.
On social media. You can vlog your life. That's all you can do.
It has exposed a few families who were
that awful case.
Inappropriately treating their children. And they've been
8 Passengers is the channel you're thinking of.
And they've been
good
accordingly. So
awful.
So that's my other rant. That's my other rant.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think then it has to. They could stop it, and they're not. So you're right. It's the consumer has to just say, I'm not having it.
And if you see companies like fabric washing companies or wherever else, if you see companies sponsoring that family's video, stop buying from that company. Tell them why as well. Because no one is protecting these kids. No one is protecting these kids. Even when people are seeing stuff on social media that looks dodgy and they are raising the alarm with CPS or social services or whatever, the 8 passengers thing, which is now their mum's now in jail for it, prison for it. I remember 3-4 odd years ago, people going, "This is really abusive," and nothing was done. So no one's keeping these kids safe.
No, nothing was done until one of the kids escaped.
Yeah.
That's when something was done. It was never done, even though she was vlogging it all. Well, not the abuse, but like people clearly were picking up on it. But something did change. So when the iPhone came in when my kids were babies, and it was massive, like within all the mother baby groups or whatever, it was to not put your child on the internet, basically, because it Facebook was kicking off. I don't think Instagram was around at the time, but it was talked about a lot and frowned upon if you put. I still find it really, if I see people share pictures of their kids of the age that they are now. I mean, I don't even share pictures of my kids when the age they're not, because I don't know, it was something that was drummed into us, and we sort of policed ourselves in that, fellow mothers, like, no, you don't put your kid on, because you don't know who's looking. You don't know if someone's got a grievance against you, and now they know what your kid looks like. And when your kid is old enough to walk themselves to school, do you want people knowing what your kid looks like, etc., etc.?
I mean, I remember when I was a kid and people had those hairbands with their names on.
Yeah,
like the sparkly glue. And my mum was like, "I'm not doing that, because that means someone can walk up to you and say,
you don't even
I know your mummy."
You don't even put your dog's name on the tag.
No.
Because people will nick off with your shit.
Yeah.
Live or inanimate. So there's, But maybe, like you say, we got streetwise, maybe some of us better than others, and they're similar online.
Well, we are starting to see some of these family vlog kids turn 18, and they're going to start suing their parents. So that's funny.
The damage is done. This is the thing. Like,
the damage is done, but it requires, look, in the same way these, Shirley Temple was treated. Fucking like, that is the stuff.
No, let's look to Hollywood for all our advice.
They will make your blood run cold. The things that were done to that little girl are utterly repellent. And now, for the most part, although what seems to have gone on Nickelodeon has gone wildly off piece with that, but there are laws to protect child performers. Kids on YouTube should either be taken off YouTube, or they should be given the same protections that child performers are given.
They will be exploited. So Pretty Pics just put there about there's going to be so many books. There will, but there will also be, there will also be people there waiting to exploit those kids for their story to make money off the back of that as well.
Yeah.
They're not going to come out at 18 and suddenly be
normal,
well-adjusted, understanding all, the life, and that people will still take their story and use it for gain. I just you'd have thought, wouldn't you, before the internet, before the age of the internet, you would have thought that if somebody actually kind of catalogued pretty much their abuse online, that it would be something that was completely shut down straight away. And it's not. It's odd.
So now, when we do Roundup Week and we get talking about Ada Lovelace, do we bring that into our assessment of her legacy? You both. But that's Philippa. What's happening next week?
Oh God, I don't know. Hold on.
Roundup Week, babe.
Roundup Week.
Oh yeah, of course it is.
Yeah. So you can all think on that during the course of this next week.
Do you want to know who we will be rounding up?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And this conversation, everybody, was why when the three of us get together to talk about history, what we're going to do with Had, is why it doesn't happen.
Yeah, because
we have ideas. What we don't do is come up with a workable plan to get those ideas done. We've got some brilliant ideas. Okay, so next week we are rounding up. We've got lots of sciencey engineering people, actually, because we have Isaac Newton. Yeah. Well, we've got Isaac Newton, Edward Jenner, Isambard Kingdom Brunel, and Ada Lovelace.
Yeah. See?
It's a 4-way science gangbang.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
The big brains. Big
Yeah.
brains.
I'll try and get some more sleep. Oh no, we won't get more sleep because we're away. Yeah. Anyway.
I've got a feeling it's not going to be a late night rave on Saturday though, because you've got to get up really early Saturday morning.
5 o'clock. I'm getting up Saturday morning.
Right,
growing a person.
Yeah.
And you're a lightweight.
So you two will go to bed at a sensible time, and I'll be asleep. Well, I'll go to bed about 2 a.m.
You could go for a little walk down the.
I'm getting murdered by the canal. Yeah, wicked. Can't wait.
Oh, no. Not a canal. It's a river for a start.
No, where the place where we're staying is, there's a little canal right next to it.
Okay. No, I don't mean go down the canal. You don't want to go down the cut. Go down the river.
No, but then I'll get hacked to death by a swan.
Yeah, no, actually, the swans are mean. The swans are mean. Yeah, maybe just.
Do you remember that dude we saw that was sat on that bench and he had all those swans around him and he was feeding them? She's like, fucking hell.
I was like, he's training them. He's come to terms with the swans. He's now their emperor. We should be afraid of him and of them. They are his attack swans now. Forget XL bullies. Those motherfuckers will break your arm.
They will.
Oh, they will.
Swan can break a man's arm.
Apparently.
Right. Oh my God, ladies, we're 2 minute 10. 2 minutes. See, I'm tired. 2 hours 10.
I'm getting kicked in the ribs, so I need to depart in peace.
Yeah. Right then, everyone.
Right. Hang on. We need to talk about the things. We have merch. There you go. Okay. Catherine's got a rough beaver. There you are. Boom. Check it out. You can also come find us. You can support the channel with buying us Winnebagos at Buy Me a Coffee / buymeacoffee.com/had podcast. We have also got a Substack, History After Dark hub at substack.com. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, tell your mates, particularly your pervert friends, they'll love it. Come on down. Right. Is that enough? More things? The end?
That'll do.
Okay, in which case, I'm going to count us out. We're leaving, friends. Thanks for hanging out and chatting with us. Love you all. See you next time. We're leaving in 3, 2, 1. Bye! Bye. Oh.
What the hell happened there?
Are we still live?
I don't know. Hello, if we're still live.
We might be.
Oh,
how do we stop it?
Anything else you wish to share? Tell Timmy to behave. Well, I'm intrigued now. What's gone on?
I think Philip has gone away. We're still here. We can't. How do we leave? Hang on. Her internet's given up. We're stuck online. How do we stop it?
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. Well, if you look at the bottom, there's things. If we put leave studio, then we'll get kicked out, and then we won't. Oh, but then hang on. Does the stream still go even if we're not here?
Hang on.
Oh, that could have gone. That could have been unfortunate, couldn't it?
How do we stop this?
I don't know. We can leave the studio, but then I'm guessing it will still be running.
Oh, for the love of God.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
I'm just going to text one. How do we stop the stream?
Well, hang on. If we both left the studio, this is painful, isn't it, everyone? If we both left the studio and then we closed our browser windows that we've got StreamYard in, then
maybe.
Well, I don't know what might happen, but we wouldn't be here anymore.
Oh, for the love of God.
She's just gone, I'm off. She fucks off. And then, Can you imagine if we thought we'd gone and then like just started just banging on about something like super inappropriate?
Hang on a second.
Oh,
Okay, we're gonna friends, right?
don't.
We're gonna just try and leave the studio
Yeah.
and hope for the best. Right.
You're going to count us out?
I'm gonna X out the window and hope for the best. Okay, so we're gonna
Okay.
go in 3, 2, 1. Bye.